up from 11 of last year, and there's a few new things on the deck.
It has a handle mounted fuel gauge.
It's got this in there too.
On the inside.
LED dashboard, so it's on right now. We've got our battery standard charge. Horsepower stand on.
Okay. The one at the center. We've got Bad Boy coming out today, and I just want to give you guys a visual of the yard. I've got some Bermuda breaking in over here that's driving me crazy. If you guys know any way to not kill my other grass and get Bermuda out, let me know. I've got these on for the guys. Love these. Nitrate-free hot dogs. Go that way. All right, so I've got Bad Boy out today. They've brought a Rogue Bad Boy. This is a 72-inch deck, and it actually has tweels on it. It's running looks like a 37.5 Briggs, which is the same thing as what we're gonna run on the hyperdrive. This is a 66-inch cut, and we've actually got the X-Ride here today also with a 60-inch cut. So we're gonna take these three and do a couple of demos and testing for you guys. But before that, I'm gonna let Jesse give you the rundown on this Rogue so you guys know all the points and I don't miss anything. All right, Jesse.
All right, so when you first come up to the machine, first thing that draws everybody's attention is the 2-inch receiver in the very front of the machine. That way you can put a jack on it to raise it up. You can also we have a sprayer or just a bunch of accessories that can go in this receiver hitch. It's already there for you. Also, when you're looking at the front, you see these two 3-inch rubber shocks. So the front end is actually bolted in right here. So you got independent front suspension on each side on this. You can also see how thick the cast iron is on the front wheels. You got flat free tires on the machine. Working our way back from there, we get to the deck will be the next thing that you see. This is a 3 gauge, which is a 1/4 inch thick solid sheet of metal. And we got 3/8 inch reinforcements on the sides.
You guys can see under the deck, he's sharpened the blades. These are, would you say these are a high lift?
Those are our standard lift blades that would come standard on the machine.
Okay, that's what I'm running today also. He was saying that this runs a 26-inch tire, and that's what the hyperdrive has also. Now, all three of these mowers are gonna be with a 26, but this has, like I said, the tweel on it.
It does not come standard on this machine. This is an add-on that I have to show it off so people can see what a tweel's like.
Yeah.
So, also on this machine, you see our advanced chute system that Bad Boy makes that we sell for a lot of different machines.
You guys actually invented that, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I've got one on my mower.
And then here's the best invention that we've ever had.
Old man pole.
It helps you get off the seat.
I got one on my truck. I know, I like it.
It actually helps you get out of the seat more than anything.
I hear you.
Something new we did this year is we put the
I like
grooves on
that
it for the step so that people don't slide.
See, these decks, this one doesn't have it, but they've done that for the newer models. You can see on this side.
And it's perfectly fine to step on any of these decks. It's just this makes it where that people think they can step on it now. And it also helps if it's wet, you don't slip as bad. Next thing you get to is our fuel tanks. We got dual fuel tanks. It's 13 gallons of fuel. Now these are run together, so there's no valve to turn them off, so it's pulling from both tanks at the same time.
I like that.
So now you only got one fuel gauge, so
right.
you run out.
Right.
You don't have that spare fuel tank.
Some people say, and I've said this in other videos, like my Hustler has a valve you can turn. You can see it over here. And what he's talking about is it has dual fuel tanks, but you see this valve right here, you've got to turn it when one runs out, or actually before one runs out. I personally do not like that. Some people say, and this is just for you guys to know, they like that because they can run one tank and know how much more they've got left to switch it over to the other. Whereas this one's going to pull from both of them evenly, or I would think so. And once you run out, you're out. I much prefer this style setup. I do not like the check valve in there to switch between tanks.
So then when you come back here past this, you got our suspension. It's the heavy duty suspension seat. So this one has the 6 inches of travel. It's got your weight dial here.
Right. Now, does this have bushings and stuff under the seat, or is it basically the same style as what this is, where it sits on a platform and it's got the roller under
so
the...
When you raise the seat up here, you can see...
Okay, so you got two bushings.
Yeah, we got bushings here.
I see that.
And then working from here, then you get to our pump and wheel motor. So we got a 16cc hydro gear pump with an 18cc Parker wheel motor, which is kind of a pretty standard setup on a lot of the higher end commercial machines.
Right.
Also looking at this, you can kind of see how easy it is to get to everything, work on everything, change your filters on.
I love that they put the filters on the outside. Yep. So it's just like a car filter. You can change that so easily. And what I'm talking about is if you look at the bottom of this tank, that's where your reservoir is. It holds your hydraulic fluid. You can spin that off in a matter of just seconds and put a new one on. Whereas 90% of these companies, it's an internal filter. Like if you look at your hydro gear and things like that, you have to take a part of the actual transaxle out to switch the filter and stuff in there. And it's a lot more tasking than something like this is to change the filter and fluid.
And something else you'll notice a lot of companies are going to, we have independent reservoirs for each side.
Right.
So if a failure happens in the pump or wheel motor, then you don't have the cross-contamination going to the other side. So each has got its own filter and own reservoir for the hydraulic oil.
Right. And you've actually got a parking brake that is a flip up.
Yeah, this is the parking brake on it.
Okay.
That you have to have. You got to have your, your arm bars out and everything before that you can set that, or to kill the engine as safety. I don't have it down, but you can see the piece of rubber here and grasp and let's demo. So this is a built-in striping kit that comes standard on all of the R series.
You guys are cheating.
Yeah, it's up. It's not down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't put it down.
All right.
So it's up, but all you do, it's got 3 bolts on there, and you can lower it down, and then if you wear it out, it's easy to replace that.
Yeah, I like that.
So that comes standard on all of our R series or commercial units.
That seems so simple for companies to do.
It is.
And one thing I want to say is I've had 1 million people comment and say that you need a striping kit to stripe your yard. That is not true. I don't have a striping kit one on my mower, and you guys know how my yard stripes. But I want to tell you something, that a striping kit like this is so much more ideal than one of those big rollers off the back, because when you go to load it on your trailer and you've got that stupid big old lawn yard thing on there hanging back, you've got to move that or you'll break it on your trailer or ditches, things of that nature. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these mowers, and pay attention to, if they've got a striping kit, how it's made.
Other than that, that's about all. I got 2 more accessories on the machine. This is a trimmer rack that we have.
That's pretty slick.
Row bar.
So you can put your weed whacker in there and roll around with it.
And then on the back, there's a 2-inch receiver that does not come on the unit that you can add. That way you can pull trailers around or whatever.
Yeah.
The boat's on, so it actually is an actual 2-inch receiver, just like the front.
Now, if you guys didn't see when I was under there, one of the reasons I'm so excited about this mower is because I love ride quality. And I want to show you this. So this has linkages that go out to each wheel. You can see the bar here and up top that bolts into this and holds this here, and it has this frame around it. This lets each wheel move independently, along with, you've got your front wheels that can move independently. So theoretically, you should get an excellent cut no matter the terrain, because it's almost like a spider. You've got individual moving components, but your deck is still staying where it was at previously, so you're not getting deck going crazy, but you're able to move with the terrain. It would almost be like a straight axle truck, which would be like these are set up, compared to an IFS suspension truck, and give you the ride quality in there while keeping your deck maintained. Now, a lot of these companies, do you guys have, like, let's say, I've seen people say on Ferris, if you're going backwards extremely fast and you turn while you're mowing, that your deck will pitch over and scalp? Do you have any issue?
I haven't heard of that, but
okay.
I don't.
Well, I haven't used Ferris, but I've never said that. I've had people ask me that, because any of these mowers, if they get too much suspension on them, it also lets your deck kind of shift.
We don't have any issues with that as far as scalping or cutting backwards. But there's also one thing we missed here too on this, some more suspension. If you look right here,
I seen that.
That's another 3-inch shock. That this is the back trailing arm that goes to that suspension in the back that hits right on it.
You see that rubber bushing down there that I'm pointing this phone at?
It's taking a 3-inch.
So you guys have a lot of suspension components built into that.
Yes, we do.
Okay. As far as your deck, now I notice you use a dial system.
Yes.
is this a fault-proof system? As in, like Spartan, I've noticed on theirs, and they've got a fix for it now, but sometimes this twist style deck, the way it was set up, the cog that was in the shaft that goes down would release if you hit a bump, and then it would let your deck just free fall.
Yeah,
there's no possibility of that with this?
Not with ours.
Okay, good. And I know they fixed theirs since then, but I just like to point those things out because that way if someone's got a question about it, it's more info for them. But if you guys notice, this runs a 15-inch front tire. These are running 13-inch front tires. So that is a much bigger tire on these. Now, this is a Hustler hyperdrive, which is going to be our main focus of between these two today to give you guys an idea. This runs a Springer fork in the front, so this can independently move up and down both sides. And then the rear is a 26, but there is no suspension on the rear of this, so it's basically just metal to wheel holding it, and it cannot move up and down. I've always preferred a 26-inch tire, and this has a 26-inch tweel, so this is a very, very apples-to-apple comparison. As far as stability, I've never been able to test a tweel versus a regular tire with the same mower, so I don't know. I know a bunch of you are going to ask, but I don't know if this tweel helps this mower on a hill or not. Every mower I've used with tweels seems to have really good traction and things of that nature. But other than that, I don't know if it's really a big difference or if it's worth the cost. This has a suspension seat, which is basically identical to what this runs. It has little bitty catchers under the bottom, and it's got the rollers in it. You can see them here, the little bushings. This hydraulic system is a 21cc wheel or pump, and then it has Danfoss pumps, and it has Parker wheel motors. This is rated to run at 16 mile per hour. We had a Skag Cheetah out. It was supposed to be 16. This was faster on top end than it, but we're going to race all three of these today just to give you guys an idea of how fast each mower is. This mower over here is rated at 13 mile per hour, and the decks on this is a 66, 72, and a 60. So you guys will get to see three different cuts in between the three. Now, as far as maintenance and changing the belt on this bad boy, how hard is it, or how easy is it to change the belt on it? Is it tasking, or can you just roll it off and then?
You can roll it off.
Okay, and it's a single belt?
It's a single belt.
Okay, I really like that on mowers.
That runs to the back.
So you can see there, it goes around all the pulleys in the front and then goes all the way to the back. That's the same way that the hyperdrive is set up as far as one belt running your deck. So you can see under here.
Yep.
I noticed this runs a little bit littler pulleys than what the hyperdrive runs on it. Most of your mower has grease fittings just like the hyperdrive. It's a grease fitting setup.
It is.
Some newer mowers are going to non-grease fitting mowers.
Our spindles are the only thing that does not have a grease fitting on it. They're sealed.
Did you go to that because people either one, put too much, or two, don't maintenance it at all?
Well,
or what do you think you went to a non-greasable spindle for?
What's the front end of your vehicle look like now?
Well, it's not. Most of them are non-greasable.
The sealed bearing technology has improved so much that we have less issues with the sealed bearings than we do with greasable bearings.
I have just always, my thought process was, and everybody I've ever known, they're either one of two people. Either they over-maintenance something, and if you over-maintenance a bearing, you'll push the seals out, or two, they don't maintenance it at all, and the bearing fails. And so that's why I feel like most of these companies are going to that, because the actual long term of that bearing gives people a longer. Now, if you did it proper, a greasable bearing should last longer because you can perfect it. But like I said, it's hard to tell because people are just like, I've run it maybe 30, 40 hours, maybe 100. I don't know. I'm going to grease it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's pros and cons to both of them.
Right.
It's the lack of maintenance is the reason.
Right.
Bearings go out in the greasable bearings.
Now, this deck, let's look at the two decks and the chutes. You can see here the opening on this deck. This is a bullnose deck, which this is a bullnose deck also. This has an air channel with an adjustable baffle in the inside of it, so you can adjust your grass type to the baffle. And these are greasable bearings under here. Other than that, you guys can kind of see the deck and how it's made. These spindles, pulleys and stuff, you can see how big the pulleys are. This is about 14 inches, this pulley, 12 to 14 inches. And then these are, I think, 9. As far as this does not have an air channel on the front, but this deck looks like it's a hairline deeper. What is the depth? Do you know from?
I want to say it's 5.5 inches.
5.5 inches. And the maximum height is 6 inches?
It cuts from 2 to 6 inches.
From 2 to 6 inches. Okay, so you've got a depth height reading that you can go from 2 to 6 inches, and you can see that up here on this.
It's a 1/3 inch increment on this instead of a 1/4 inch. So.
Right.
So you don't have the actual quarter.
You've got USBs here, basically the same as all the other ones. You've got a lever here to, raise the RPM and stuff. Other than that, like I said, all of these are running Parker wheel motors. That one runs a Hydra gear pump. This runs a Dan Foose. This is a ZT5400 setup, and I've got videos on all of these separate with other mowers. So you guys can go back and watch those. If you have any questions, put it in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer those. Other than that, I would say that all of these are going to be very comparable. And if you are looking at any of these mowers, my highest recommendation is talk with your dealer. Make sure you've got a good dealer network, because a lot of times when you go get a mower that you love, if the dealer's horrible, you're going to hate your mower because of the service and things that come along with it. And I don't care which brand you get, all mowers have issues. You might get one, but at some point you're going to have certain issues with a certain mower, so keep that in mind. The one thing I will tell you about the Hustler, at least on this deck and this one, if you are going very fast and you hit a bump, your deck can lock out at the top. And I've told that in other videos. But you can see here, this deck, if you hit something and you're going, wide open, it'll let this jump up in the lock position. And that's something that I've found as a faulty thing, and hopefully they'll fix that. But this does have the most robust hydraulic system in the industry, and it holds the most volume with the biggest cooling system. So we're going to see on all these how they heal stability, cut, field test, and a few other things. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Well, as long as it's close to 4 1/4. A lot of them you put it on 4 1/2, and it'll be on 4 1/4. That's what I've noticed.
See what that
means. Okay. So that is about 4 1/2.
Okay.
Is that? So this one has a deck, and it's got 2 notches between each one. So it's going to be, we're going to try to get them right at 4 1/2 as far as their cut. So from the blade, so that's set on. You've got like 2 notches between them, and then the number. So on this one, there's a few more selections that you can go between them, but we're going to try to get them all about 4 1/2 to where the blade is, and that's where we've got this one right now. Let's see where we're at. Hold on. Yeah, you can shut it off. All right, so that's got the blade right at 4 1/4. So we'll have to go up 1 more notch. All right, drop it down. Okay, so let's see where we're at right there. All right, so we're right at 4 1/2 right there. You guys can see that's what we're trying to go for on all of them. All right, so leave that peg there, and then we'll get this one and put it over here. Notice on this one that the controls want to go right back to neutral as soon as you let out. That's the first mower that I've really felt with that much resistance on them.
We can adjust them.
Well, I mean, some people might like that. It's the only reason I'm telling people, because correct. But I never felt one with like a resistance level that was the same as that as far as where they go. Is it spring loaded? A gas dampener? Okay. Let me pull the blade. And both the hyperdrive and this one are running the same exact blade. It's just a standard OEM medium lift blade. All right. So that one is about 4 3/4. So that one's spot on with its thing. All right, go ahead and push it. It's not got many airs, so the tires aren't wore and stuff on it. All right, so that one, yep, spot on, 4 1/2. All right, so let's take them back there and do some cuts. Well, we got all the blades on the same thing. leaving this grass, so it's chunky. And it's rained the past 3 days, so it's pretty green. We're gonna span them out about 8 foot difference, and then we'll see. All right, so here's the X-Ride. For some reason, my video cut off. Here's the X-Ride. This has got a 60-inch cut on it, and we've made 4 passes between all of these. So you can see there's some that's missed here. There's a few pieces of grass blade laying on top, but you can see the cut. I'll go both directions. Here is the 66-inch hyperdrive. I'll go both directions on it. And like I said, this is pretty thick grass. You guys can see down it. There's some stuff laying on top through it. And here's how thick it is without being cut, just so you guys know. You know, it's soft, pretty lush. Here's Bad Boy's cut. It's a good looking cut. This is a 72-inch cut, so keep that in mind. This is taking on more grass than any of them. Any of the mowers, any of the bumps they hit, it always leaves little scragglers. You can see in my tire marks, there's quite a few little scragglers down through there. And like I said, this is a 66, this is a 60. So this is the Hustler X-Ride. He's gonna make 4 passes. You can see the discharge is going out probably 10 foot out for the main part. And this is, you know, this is just field grass. It's not the thickest because we just cut it for hay about 2 months ago, but it'll still give you an idea of them cutting field grass. So it's not really leaving anything on top. This will be the, you can always tell on your 4th cut, because if you watch that discharge, it's discharging all of it out to the last one. See it there? This is a 72-inch Bad Boy. That one's discharging it maybe a hairline shorter, but it seems to be discharging it a little bit higher. Now he's gonna blow some over on this one, you can see. So we'll have that, but it's not too much, and we can judge off the other 3 cuts. It was pretty clean. This one's pretty clean as well. See, it's discharged it's not seeming to go as far as and most of it's laying it on the third one. Can you run that one? Get a little, let's see, come on up here. And that way, when you turn on your second one, you don't shoot it all the way over on this one. Because his last pass was shooting a little bit over here. Try not to back up them chiggers anywhere. Those right there are chiggers. You don't want to get them. Do two more. So this last cut, you'll be able to see the discharge on it. That's where you always see in a mower how far the discharge is your fourth cut. You know, when you're demoing these, don't just do a single or double cut, because you can watch the discharge on them. So you can see out there. See, I think the 60-inch one, maybe, I don't know, both of them discharge pretty far, but you can see it there how it's leaving. The faster he goes, the more it's gonna leave on your third and fourth run. You can tell on the two bigger deck mowers that on their third and fourth run, where they're taking on so much more, that it's harder for them to discharge it out as far. And that's what I always noticed with other companies, because nobody's ever brought anything out that was 72, it was always 60s. Yeah. So I had the biggest one, and then on the last discharge, you'll see more. And that's just something with a bigger deck, you're gonna take on more. But so you guys can see here, see where you've got stuff laying on here that's through that cut. I mean, all in all though, if you're doing field cuts, any of these are gonna be a pass, because they're just looking for you to knock it down. They're not looking to see if you've got a little bit laying on top on any of these mowers, but they're all very close. But I think in this field cut, the 60-inch, which is probably because the 60-inch deck has less to take on, and when it's spitting it, you've got to think that you've got a lot less stripe in each one, whereas the 66 and the 72, both on the third and fourth run, have stuff. But you guys can be the judge. Tell me what you think as far as your cut. You know, all of them, mine's the same way. You've got some of these clots in here, but all in all, they're all very good cuts for something like this, and you could use any of them to knock a field down. I'll go slow up them and let you see. These are 4 cuts back and forth. .66-inch, 60 and 72. All right, so this is the bad boy with the tweels, and it's running 26 by 12 inch tires. He's going to try to go down and stop, and then I'll have the other mower go right behind him. Can you stop? Can you stop? Can you back up? Okay. This one is the Hustler X-Ride. It's running the Hydra gear pumps. Just follow his tracks. Follow his tracks. Follow his tracks. This is a Hustler X-Ride. It's running 26s, and it has the Hydra Gear 5400 pumps on it. So we're gonna see how it does. Oh, look at that. All right. That's good. That's good. So this is a new test. I'm gonna pull the mowers up on this. If you try to go all the way to the top of this, you'll flip these mowers. But I want you to look and see which one of them, you know, keeps its consistency or if it starts to tilt back. So I'll take the hyperdrive first and then we'll do the other two. And just try to get them to see where my back tire is compared to my front, because each mower, I'm gonna stop it where it's uncomfortable. I'm not gonna try to push the limit. Is my rear touching? So did they see that yet? Okay, good. It didn't like that first one up, but once it got over it, it was fine. So we've all been driving these today, and we drove all three. I still feel like the Hustler Hyperdrive is the smoothest one driving and all-round smooth mower. The X-Ride is the roughest out of these three, and the shock, like I said, isn't broke in, but it's still very bucky. And I've tried level 1 and level 2, and it just has a bucky ride to it. And what I mean is, when you hit a bump, it almost catapults you out of the seat the way the spring is made in the seat. And like I said, it's only got 3 hours on it. This has over 200 hours, and this has 10 maybe. So these two units are brand new. This one has about 200. But from my perspective, the hyperdrive out of these three is still the smoothest. And I think a lot of that is because this has pneumatic front tires and aired back tires. They have about 14 to 15 PSI in them, where this has a tweel. Now, this does have a lot of suspension flex and things of that nature, and I'm sure it'll get a little bit better as it's broke in, but I just don't think that a tweel will give like a aired tire, and that's kind of the conclusion that we've come across the board to. And the trailing arm is, how much suspension travel does that give you? What do you think, like 3 to 4 inches? Probably. 3 to 4 inches. So in theory, you know, you've got 3 to 4 inches on each side that this can span. And this, like I said, has been the roughest of the three, and I don't think the shocks broke in, but it still is just a bucky ride, and it wants to catapult you almost when you hit a bump in the seat. Other than that, they're pretty well paired as far as, like I said, this has 26-inch tires on it. This has 26s, and so does this, but these are tweels. So if you guys have any questions about that, let me know. This is my friend Joe. He's rode all three of these mowers today, and I'm going to let you guys hear his opinion on ride and things of that nature, so it's not just me talking. And like I said, this is a tweeled tire, so I don't think it would be as smooth as it would be if it had a pneumatic tire. What was your thoughts?
So my opinion, after riding all three of them, mowing with all three of them, going over some different terrain, I feel like the hyperdrive by Hustler is more of a smoother ride. They all three took on train very well. I feel like mowing wise, I mean, they were, to me, like in the field, the 72-inch obviously has got more grass it's got to cut, so therefore it has more hazard discharge. But they all three cut well. My opinion, probably the 60 did the best, obviously, but there's less grass to cut.
I agree.
But overall ride, I mean, the hyperdrive is a really smooth mower, and like Ben said, it could be where it does have a little bit more hours. Maybe this mower, once it gets to, you know, a little bit more broke in, and even the tires, I mean. And
that's nothing taken away from this mower. This is an excellent mower, you guys, and it has so many features, especially for the price range, that you can pick one of these mowers up. They are very, very competitive price wise, and you get almost so the only two features that are optional on here are tweels and this rack, correct? Everything else comes.
No, the handle.
Okay, the handle. All right, so
the discharge chute is optional too.
Right, so discharge chute, handle, you know, the accessories, but as far as anything to do with the mower, the tweels are your option. You know, you still got the really high quality deck. You've got the high horsepower motor, and you're getting, what is it?
The gas tanks, where
right.
This one here doesn't have a valve. They both simultaneously pull from each tank.
How did you feel about the joystick control of this? Because those two are almost identical, which I think that's way smooth. The hyperdrive has way smoother controls than this X-Ride does. But these controls, what I noticed is these go back to neutral. So if you guys didn't know that, that's another feature on these. And he said you can adjust the dampening on it, but they want to go back to neutral at any point. And for instance, like when you let the parking brake off, it wants to stay right there at it until you give it input, and then it wants to push itself back to neutral. So you're always going to have force on the handlebars here. Now, I do really, really enjoy the grips on this. I really like the embossed bad boy sign on there. I think that's a nice touch that they've added. How did you feel about the stick control?
I think the stick control was very smooth myself.
Okay.
It wasn't very sensitive, but it wasn't loose either. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's all around
right.
Great feel, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. They all have their different characteristics, and people have always said different things. You know, you could put 10 people on 10 different mowers and let them try the sticks on them, and they're going to have different, you know, ideas of what they want a stick to do for them. Some mower companies make them extremely hard to push. The hyperdrive, you could drive with 2 fingers like that. It's just, there's no input backwards or forwards to you. It's just a smooth deal. Some other ones are, you know, just loose and stuff like that. So it really depends on the user, but they're all different. I just want to give you guys an opinion on that. I want to put this in video too. So I know that this is a Rogue, which is one step down below the Renegade. But I'm going to let him tell you, Jesse, tell you why he brought the Rogue today and the differences.
So the reason we brought the Rogue is because it's one of our best-selling commercial units. It's top of the line. The only one that gets above it is the Renegade. So there's only a couple differences in the Renegade compared to the Rogue. So the Rogue is a vertical engine. It means the shaft comes out of the bottom and your clutch is underneath for your drive belt and for your pump. On the Renegade, it's a horizontal engine. So the engine, or the shaft of the engine comes out and your clutch is in the very back. So then you have your pumps are setting different back here so that they spin off of your engine off the back of it. And then you got a belt that does a 90-degree turn on a pulley that goes and runs your deck. The Renegade has some more metal on it and just looks a little beefier that way, weighs a little more.
Do you think that there's any cut or speed difference between the two?
They're not. It's the same,
okay.
Same cut, same speed.
So, you know, if you get a Renegade or a Rogue, it's going to cut the same as this. And like I said, the difference is how the motor is set up on it. So just keep that in mind, and the belts. But as far as the cut and how it's going to function, it's going to be the same as this Rogue. I knew there would be a lot of people say, oh, you know, this is a Rogue, they've got a Renegade above it. You know, I didn't choose this. This is just what was offered. And so, you know, you got to understand the cut, the deck is identical, and there shouldn't be any difference as far as those two in cut. And like I said, these are both their two highest end mowers. In Hustler, that is the highest mower they offer, the hyperdrive. And this is the third highest end. This is supposed to be right below the Super Z, which is one notch below this. But I think I would prefer this over the Super Z because it runs a 26-inch tire. Although I'm not as big a fan of the X-Ride system. It's very bucky, as I've said, and hopefully that breaks in and gets different. But I think it's just the height. And one of the things that I noticed is the seat on this bad boy and the seat on this hyperdrive are almost identical in height, and which you can't tell right now, but the X-Ride sits above both of those in height-wise. As far as leg space, you're getting about the same on the X-Ride and the Rogue. It's about the same distance from your seat to your floor pan, and your seat to your floor pan as far as how you're sitting on these two is a little bit longer. Both of these offer a rubber mat. The newer one on the hyperdrive offers a rubber mat. This is a 2021, so a lot of the new features aren't on this mower. But you guys like the channel enough, and I'll have a new one on here. Do you guys have any more thoughts?
I don't think so. I think it about wraps it up.
Okay.